In the days when Rome was young and the seven hills still smelled of pine and sacrifice, the gods were not distant legends. They walked the earth in mortal guise, their anger quick as lightning, their mercy rarer than gold from Hispania. Diana, virgin huntress, sister of Apollo, ruled the wild places, the moonlit forests, the hidden springs, the groves where nymphs danced and mortal feet feared to tread. Her sacred wood near the Alban Hills was no ordinary copse. The trees were ancient, older than the kings of Alba Longa, their bark etched with runes only the initiated could read. To cut one was to spill divine blood, yet hubris blinds even the strongest men. And so we come to Eucharius. Dawn broke cold over the village. Mist clung to the thatched roofs like a shroud. Eucharius rose before the cocks crowed, his breath fogging in the chill. He was 40 winters old, built like a bull, arms corded from years of swinging iron. His beard was black and thick, his eyes narrow with the stubborn pride of a man who believed the world owed him more than it gave. He took his axe double-headed, forged by his own father, and ran the whetstone along each edge until sparks flew. The sound was rhythmic, almost musical, a promise of violence to come. Livia, his only child, watched from the doorway. 12 years old, small for her age, with her mother's soft brown eyes and hair the color of ripe chestnuts. She clutched a woolen shawl around her shoulders. "Father, the priest said the grove is forbidden. The elders say Diana herself guards it." Eucharius snorted. "Priests talk to fill their bowls. Gods do not care for a few trees when men must eat. Winter comes. We need timber for the hearth, for the roof, for coin at market." "But the trees bleed, father, everyone says." "Sap, girl, red sap from some cursed root, nothing more." He shouldered the axe and strode out, boots crunching frost. The path to the grove wound upward through olive groves and vineyards. As he entered Diana's domain, the air changed, thicker, sweeter, watchful. Birds stopped singing. Leaves whispered without wind. He chose the tallest ilex first. One swing, two, three, the blade bit deep. Wood chips flew like snow. The trunk groaned. Then came the sap, thick, dark red, running down the bark in rivulets that looked for all the world like blood. Eucharius laughed. "See, just sap." He worked without pause. By mid-morning the ground was littered with fallen giants. The red pools spread, soaking the moss, staining his sandals. The villagers heard the steady thunk, thunk, thunk. They gathered at the grove's edge, old women with amulets, shepherds with staffs, children clutching mothers' skirts. An elder named Marcus stepped forward. "Eucharius, stop this madness, the trees bleed, you wound the nymphs." Eucharius wiped sweat from his brow. "Nymphs? Bah, tell your nymphs to grow coin instead of bark." They pleaded again, throwing apples, figs, pomegranates, hopping shame or pain would turn him back. The missiles splattered around him. He roared, raising the axe high. "Away, you old hens, or taste the blade." They fled down the path, hearts pounding. Alone again, Eucharius worked until sunset. When the last light bled from the sky, the grove was a slaughterhouse of stumps. He gathered what timber he could carry and descended, whistling. Behind him in the twilight, a figure appeared, tall, silver-bowed, eyes like cold moonlight. Diana stood among the fallen, tears tracing her perfect cheeks. She knelt, pressed her hand to a bleeding stump. The red sap stained her fingers. "You have broken the oldest law," she whispered. "Let hunger be your companion, woodcutter. Let it grow until it eats you from within." The curse was spoken. The grove sighed. Eucharius reached home as stars pricked the sky. Livia had kindled the hearth and laid out a feast. Roasted venison from a recent hunt, turnips and leeks stewed in oil, fresh bread, and a jug of dark Falernian wine. He washed in the basin, sat, and ate like a man possessed. He tore meat with his teeth, drained cups without pause. When the platters were bare, he leaned back, belly taut. Yet the emptiness remained. "Strange," he muttered. "All that chopping should have tired me out. Instead, I'm ravenous." He rose, opened the pantry. Loaves, dried figs, cheese, salted fish. He devoured it all, crumbs falling into his beard. Still the hunger gnawed. Night had fallen fully. He took his purse, heavy with the last of his savings, and walked to the torchlit market in the Forum. Merchants cried their wares. Beef from the butcher, sausages, olives, more wine, apples shining in lamplight. Eucharius bought everything his coins could buy. He ate as he walked home, raw meat, fruit, gulping wine. By the door the bags were empty. His stomach roared louder than before. Days blurred into nightmare. He raided neighbors' farms under cover of dark, goats bleating as he snapped their necks, chickens plucked and swallowed whole, pigs carved while still warm. He left bones and blood in the fields. The village emptied, orchards stripped, granaries bare, people whispered of a demon. Eucharius grew fat, grotesquely so. His arms sagged, his neck vanished into rolls. He could no longer swing the axe, yet the hunger never slept. Livia watched it all in terror. One evening she knelt before him. "Father, you are ill. The healer can help, or the priest he can offer to Diana beg forgiveness for the grove." Eucharius's eyes glinted, not with hunger for food but something colder. "Nonsense," he growled. "This is strength. My body demands fuel for the work I did." But the hunger had become a beast with its own mind. One restless afternoon, as he paced the house clawing at his own arms in frustration, Livia approached again. "Father, please. The priest of Diana will intercede. He can offer sacrifice and beg mercy for whatever wrong has been done." Eucharius turned slowly. A devilish smile split his face. Without warning, he seized rope from the corner. He bound her wrists, her ankles. She cried out, struggled. "Father, no." He threw her over his shoulder like a lamb for market and marched to the coast road. Hours later they reached the slave market at Ostia, the stink of fish, tar, sweat, despair. Traders shouted prices. Chains clinked. He set Livia on the sand near the stalls. "Stay," he commanded. "I go to find a buyer." She sobbed, "Father, I am your daughter. Do not do this." He walked away without looking back. Livia fell to her knees, tears soaking the sand. The waves mocked her. Then a shimmer, a tiny light no larger than a firefly. A fairy appeared, wings of gossamer, hair like spun moonlight, eyes full of sorrow and power. "Why do you weep, child?" the fairy asked softly. Livia poured out her heart. "My father felled trees in Diana's grove. The villagers warned him. Now he is cursed with endless hunger. He ate everything, our home, the village, the flocks, broke and desperate. He brought me here to sell me for coin to buy more food. I am alone." The fairy hovered closer. "The goddess's curse is just, yet you bear no guilt. I cannot lift it from him, but I can save you." She raised her wand. Light enveloped Livia, warm, tingling. Bones lengthened, shoulders broadened, voice dropped to a deep timbre. In moments she stood as a strong young man, handsome, powerful, yet with the same gentle eyes. Just then Eucharius returned, dragging a fat merchant by the arm. The man held a purse of gold. Eucharius froze. "Where is the girl?" he snarled. "I left my daughter here bound." The transformed Livia spoke, voice low and steady. "I saw no girl, sir. I came to this beach alone to seek work. Perhaps she fled." Eucharius scanned wildly. She could not flee, she was tied. The merchant scowled. "I buy flesh, not stories." He pocketed his coins and strode off. Eucharius fell to his knees. "Wait, one coin, mercy." The merchant shoved him into the sand. Other traders laughed, drove him away with clubs. Mad with hunger, Eucharius crawled the beach. He ate crabs, lobsters, seaweed, anything. He picked the shore clean until only sand remained. Noon sun burned. He wiped shell fragments from his lips, tasted salt, his own sweat. He stared at his thick arm. Slowly he bit down. Pain exploded, he howled, but the hunger was stronger. He tore again, flesh, muscle, blood. He devoured himself piece by piece, screams echoing over the waves. Livia, now the young man, watched in frozen horror. Then she ran. "Help," she cried in the deep voice. "My father has lost his mind. He eats his own flesh on the shore. Bring aid, water, bandages, anything." She grabbed arms, begged merchants. A handful followed her back. But when they reached the spot, only a wide, dark stain on the sand. No body, no bones, nothing. The hunger had finished him completely. Livia fell beside the blood, weeping silently in her new form. After the bloody patch on the Ostia sand dried under the merciless sun, the traders whispered the tale for weeks. They spoke in low voices of a man who ate himself whole, of a daughter who became a son in the blink of fairy light, of Diana's justice that needed no sword, only patience. Livia, now called Lucius by the world, never returned to the village. The people there had already begun to rebuild their flocks and orchards, but they looked at the Alban hills with new fear. No one dared approach the ruined grove again. The stumps never regrew. The red stain on the moss remained, year after year, as though the earth itself remembered the crime. Lucius wandered south, then east, eventually finding work as a guard on the merchant caravans that traveled the Via Appia. He was strong, quiet, reliable. No one ever guessed the truth behind his deep voice and steady gaze. He carried the memory of his father like a stone in his chest, not hatred, but a heavy, unnameable sorrow. Years passed. Lucius grew older, his hair streaked with gray. One winter night, camped near the ruins of the old grove, he left the caravan fire and walked alone under the moon. The air still smelled of pine and something sharper, old blood, old tears. He knelt at the edge of the fallen trees. The stumps were black now, weathered, but the red stain had never faded. Lucius placed his hand on the nearest stump. He spoke aloud for the first time in years, voice low and cracked. "Father, I do not know if you can hear. I do not know if you ever understood what you did, but I forgive you, not for what you became, but for the man you were before the hunger took you. Rest, if the gods will allow it." A wind moved through the branches that remained. It was not cold. It was not angry. It simply passed, carrying the scent of moonlit cypress and distant sea. Lucius stood. He walked away and never returned. Some say Diana herself heard the words. Some say she softened just a fraction and allowed the man's shade to find quiet in the underworld. Others insist the wind was only wind. But the grove stayed silent, and the tale lived on. Beware the first cut against what is sacred, whether it be a tree, a vow, or the trust of your own blood. Hubris plants the seed. Greed waters it. Denial lets it grow. And when the hunger comes, it asks no permission. It simply takes first your fields, then your family, then your flesh, then your name. Honor the boundaries the gods have drawn. Love fiercely the ones who depend on you, because the wheel of fate turns slowly, but it turns. And that is the full and final telling of the curse of Eucharius. If this myth sank its teeth into you, if the horror lingered, if the moral struck home, then drop a like for the old god's justice. Subscribe to the storyteller for the next cursed tale. Share it under the moon if you dare.